All right, good afternoon, everyone. I've got 5 o'clock on the nose, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Judy Orton-Grissett. I'm the Director of Experiential Learning here at GSW, and I oversee our Windows to the World program. This is our first Windows to the World program for the semester, so thanks so much for coming out. We do have a list of upcoming Windows to the World events that you can find on Canes Connect, and also send out regular emails to students, so if you just keep track of those, you can look and see what other upcoming events are going on. Just a quick point about Windows to the World. Windows to the World is a graduation requirement for many of our students. When I say many of our students, it's first year, or students coming in for their first year, full-time students. So most of you are probably, it's a requirement for you. Students are expected to attend 6 events before they graduate and then complete the capstone at the end. So that's kind of the structure of the program. The purpose of the program, however, I'm going to read here from our Windows to the World website here, is to help students acquire intercultural knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And tonight's talk is very much in line with that point. To also explore both how you see people who are different from you and your own identity, and to also interact with cultures and other areas of diversity and critically reflect on these interactions. And again, that's something that's very much in line with our presentation tonight. In order to receive credit for attending tonight's Windows to the World event, so students, there is an app. It is called Cork. Many of you, if you've been here, already have the app. If this is a new app, you do not have to scramble and download and do all that now. We'll have a question and answer time at the end, and have a little bit of time where you can look that up. But if you're not able to download it, that's totally fine. If you will see before you leave, either myself or our assistant here, Sam Gaina, she's waving there, will be located at both of these doors. If you just have your student ID and just show us your ID, we can quickly look you up in the system. So if you have the app, great. If you don't have the app, just let us know your name, show us your student ID, and then you can get credit that way, and it'll register immediately. It'll go into the system so you can see that you've been checked in. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Professor Gamire.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Judy. My name is Kailas Gamire. I'm a professor here at Math Department at GSW. In May, we had a group of 12 students and 10 students, and then 1 graduate, and then 1 Mr. Arnold from Forlo Charter School. We went to Nepal, and then we spent 15 days in the trip. So I'm really excited to have our students share their experience with you this evening. So before that, I would like to ask each of you who did not go to Nepal, I would like to ask you, do you know where Nepal is? Where is it? Where is Nepal? It's north of India. It's between India and China. That's where the tallest mountain, Mount Everest, lies. Let me introduce very quick our group members. When they come here to present their experience in front of you, they will tell their name, and then we have one more participant. She was from Forlo Charter School, Miss Joanna Arnold. Would you mind to stand up, please? Yeah, she was from Forlo Charter School, and then we had a wonderful time. So I'll ask our students to come and then present their experience in the order that you are given. Can you? By the way, we'll have the question and answer at the end of the presentation. Everyone is done with presenting the presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is KJ Daniels. I'm a junior chemistry major at Georgia Southwestern. And when traveling abroad to Nepal in May, I decided that I wanted to research marriage. I don't know a lot about marriage in the first place, so I thought it'd be interesting to look at the differences between marriage in the States and marriage in Nepal. And so here I have a small little video of a courtship dance that I will discuss later on that was performed at Navodit College. And about 30 seconds into the video, you could see one of the girls pull out a small piece of paper, and that's supposed to be like a picture of a man who she's interested in. And I'll discuss that more as I talk about the courtship dance. So first, I wanted to briefly go over marriage in the United States. In colonial times, gender roles were heavily normalized as it was just seen necessary for survival. And, it was just the man going out hunting, colonizing, and the woman staying at home. And so back then, there were strict roles that they had, and there were some kind of and there were some rights that men had that they got when they married, and some that weren't even really morally correct. It wasn't until the Victorian era, which scholars say is from 1830 to about 2000, where marriage was more about two lovers coming together for mutual affection. And so to introduce marriage in Nepal, it starts with that courtship dance, and that's why I showed that video prior. That courtship dance has the woman dancer ask the man that she likes to dance with her. This will lead to dating, and then afterwards to the families meeting. And so Nepal originally was a Hindu kingdom, so it has several influences and ethnicities that affect its culture. And these include Indonesian, Aryan, and Mongolian influences. And things such as these are like Indonesian levirate marriages, which are where the widow would have to marry her deceased husband's brother. And so Nepalese culture varies a lot because of this, and it has castes which are based on Hindu society. So Nepalese gender roles. In Nepal, the woman is typically seen as strong, pure, and virtuous, and a lot of the Nepalese goddesses are depicted the same way. And then marriage in Nepal is typically patrilocal, where the woman would move in with the man when they marry. And sometimes this also goes to multi-generational houses, which are where you have different layers of a house with different age groups. So like you've had the elderly on the bottom floor, about middle-aged in the second floor, and say like the kids on the first floor, well, third floor, excuse me. And so for this trip impacting me, really just as an introvert who doesn't go out much, this trip showed me how much I need to be open to trying new things, because originally going on this trip, I didn't even know what I wanted to research. And it wasn't until May 21st when we were shown a courtship dance that I knew, hey, I want to research marriage because I already don't know a lot about the topic. And it seems very cool just hear how it is in Nepal, to look at the differences from how it is here to there. So I thank you all for listening to my presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander DeYoung. So, did any of you hear about the new restaurant called Karma? Well, there's no menu, and you get what you deserve. All right, good. We got a little bit of laughter. All right, so I'll be talking about Buddhism, and what made me want to talk about this was I've been interested in religion, and it's just something that just came up with going on the trip and experiencing all the different landmarks and the culture. So what is it? Well, it is a religion, but it's also a teaching. So this religion teaches that suffering is a part of life, and the end of suffering is the end of desires. And there's a path that leads to the end of these desires. And the principle of this religion is to follow the path of enlightenment through moderation and the avoidance of self-indulgence. And through these principles, people believe that becoming closer to reaching enlightenment would lead to a better life and to be reincarnated into something more. So, who is the Buddha? Well, he is the person that founded this religion, and his name is Siddhartha Gautama, and he is mostly known as the Buddha again. He lived a long life, and he encountered many sufferings, but he helped transcend this through his teachings alone. And he did that by following the Eightfold Path. So what is the Noble Eightfold Path? Well, first is the knowledge of truth, the intention to resist evil, saying nothing to hurt others, respecting life, morality, and property, holding a job that does not injure others, striving to free one's mind of evil, controlling one's feelings and thoughts, and practicing proper forms of concentration. Now, through these folds, you're, in practice, supposedly able to achieve enlightenment and, through nirvana, be reincarnated into something better. Now, this is a monument that we encountered on our trip to Nepal, and this is what made me want to talk about this religion. So, oops, that was not supposed to happen. So this is the Surah Temple, and it was established more than 2,500 years ago. And it is located in Kathmandu and is one of the most popular sites for this religion in Nepal. So this temple also goes by another name, the Monkey Temple. And it, as it implies, it's home to many monkeys. And the word Sawahab, it means self, and Bura, which means to take birth. So the Vajra. This picture here is also located at the temple, and it is associated with a ritual object. So in the religion, it is wielded by a Buddhist sakra, and it's supposed to signify a lightning bolt and the power of enlightenment. And as you, first one here, you can see that's the front side, and then these are the side angles for same object. Next here we have the World Peace Pond. And so this is a pond that is also at the temple. It is located directly at the entrance, and as you can see, the Buddha, this is a picture of the Buddha here, and underneath it is a cauldron. And so this is kind of like a nice little tourist destination where local vendors sell coins, and you buy these coins and try to flip it into the cauldron. And if you make the cauldron, you are said to be blessed by the luck of the Buddha. Now, what do we get by this takeaway, and what's me just rambling here? Well, I would like to encourage all of you to try new things. I went on this trip, and I just thought, hey, this could be really nice for a college resume. Something just to put on. But what this helped me was, it helped me experience a new way of thinking, a new perception on how people lived. And it makes us think, hey, we're very fortunate to be in a country here. But at the same time, we could learn a lot over there. So I would like you all to take this chance to go to Nepal and experience a different way of life over in that country, as well as incorporate it in here. That's it.
Hey y'all, my name is Jamal Floyd and I am a junior fine arts major, and my presentation about Nepal deals with tourism and what exactly are the things that draw tourists into Nepal and also how that affects the economy. And so just for some basic facts, Nepal, it's a developing country, and so that, because of that, tourism plays a huge role in the economy with outside influence and those nations that have stronger currency going there and spending money. Tourism contributes about 2.2 billion US dollars to Nepal's GDP, and just to kind of help you understand the scope of how tourism impacts the industry of Nepal is that it's the fourth largest industry by employment in the country. And so, first things first, I'm going to talk about the landscape and how the geographic diversity of the country is kind of a huge staple for tourists to come and visit. First off, the picture on the right, that is the view of the Himalayas from an airplane. And the Himalayas, that is a very popular kind of mountainous region that a lot of people like to go and visit and go trekking. And then the middle picture, that kind of shows the kind of landscape that you see everywhere throughout Nepal, and that sort of hilly landscape that has a lot of slopes and turns. That kind of attracts a lot of people who like to go trekking and who like to hike around. And then the picture on the left, that depicts Chitlin National Park, which is a park that is known for preserving natural wildlife. And then here, these are examples of architecture located at different sites in Nepal. So on the right, we have the Durbar Square, and the most important part about that is just the intricate wood carving that's depicted on the architecture. And then the middle image, that is a piece of architecture that is located at Monkey Temple, which we just talked about. And then on the left, that is another example of kind of traditional architecture in the country and how those are usually located at those tourist spots. And then another aspect of Nepalese culture that draws in tourists are the sculptures that are present at these different sacred sites and at museums. So on the left, like I said earlier, wood carving, that's a huge part of the artistic tradition in Nepal. And in the middle, there's an example of bronze casting, which is used to make sculptures that usually depict different deities. And then on the right, there's another example of a sculpture that was located at a temple. And this slide is just about more information. So cultural sites are very important as they're kind of a way to show culture and religion. And then with the huge boom of tourism in these areas, a lot of the natives need to migrate to these areas in order to have jobs. And with this increase in employment opportunities, with all the natives migrating, it's created over 370,000 jobs in those areas alone. And so now I'm going to show you some specific examples of art and how those are important in terms of tourism. So on the image on the left, that shows the Vikalpa Art Center, which seeks to promote fine arts in Nepal. And then the middle image, that shows an example of a tourist shop in Kathmandu. And tourist shops are important because those are the ways that local craftsmen are able to sell their wares and make money by selling all these souvenirs that us Americans and others that like to travel will buy and thus feed into the economy. And then the image on the right, this is an example of Fonka Painting, which is a time-honored tradition of painting. And this area right here, it kind of shows how that tradition is being kept and preserved. And then this slide, this shows kind of another context of art. So the ones on the left and right, those are more in public. So the left is a public installation, and the one on the right is another sort of public installation. And then the image in the middle, this is a painting that was located in the Vikalpa Art Center. And then this slide is just to kind of show you how the different foods are. So curry, which is a pretty common dish over there. And then you have this thing called momo, which is basically dumplings, but it's called momo, and it's very popular. You can eat it literally any time of day, morning, in the breakfast, afternoon, lunch, dinner, any time of the day. And then on the top right, that's actually, I went to Pizza Hut, and that's just to show you how Pizza Hut breadsticks looked over there. So, and then now I'm going to talk about my favorite part of Nepal experience, which is the cultural dances. These dances kind of serve as a way to truly preserve the culture that is present there, and not only kind of keep that culture, keep that cultural sense of pride instilled into the people there, but also express that to the tourists. So these images, these were at a school that we visited, and the students, they did these courtship dances in front of us. You can go next. So basically those two were just examples of the dances that were shown and presented to us. And then finally, to end off, the biggest takeaway is that you should make memories. Throughout this trip, as we are young college students, it is really important to go out and make memories, try new things, as the others were saying, and kind of get out your comfort zone. And then the main takeaway for myself personally, I'm the kind of guy that likes to, constantly do things, pack up my schedule, just go, go, go. But going on this trip kind of taught me that I need to slow down and take in experiences as they come and let things happen, kind of go with the flow.
Hello, my name is Johanna Nordwall, and I'm a sophomore, and my research topic was the potential psychosocial consequences of modernization. For me, one of the best parts of traveling abroad is being exposed to ways of life that are unfamiliar to me, meeting people from other regions of the globe, seeing how they live, hearing about what is important to them, helps shape the way I think, even in the familiarity of my own hometown. While my research may not be specific to Nepal, the idea for my research stemmed from my observations of daily life in rural Nepal. Despite tremendous improvements in poverty rates within the past decade, Nepal is one of the poorest countries in Asia by GDP per capita. Unclean water, malnourishment, electricity cuts, lack of transportation, and poor infrastructure are a part of life for millions of Nepali citizens. Metal sheet roofs weighed down with rocks and branches, like you can see in this photo, were a common sight in rural Nepal. From a global perspective, standards of living in the United States are comparatively very high. One study found that almost 9 in 10 Americans would be considered upper middle or upper class on a global scale, whereas 71% of the world population would be considered low income or poor. Just for reference, this is a picture posted on Facebook by someone that I met in Nepal. It basically says, "Your home, my home, I am from a middle class family." It may or may not be statistically true that this would be considered a middle class home in Nepal, but it exemplifies the fact that middle class in Nepal looks very different from our perception of middle class in the US. Statistical measures like life expectancy and infant mortality rates, as well as quality of life measures, indicate that survival is relatively easy for the average person in the United States. However, as wealth and standards of living have increased drastically in the US, self-reported happiness levels of Americans have remained relatively stagnant, and that's what this graph is depicting. That same pattern is also seen in the UK and in other developed countries. In fact, there has been a sharp increase in the prevalence of anxiety disorders, mood disorders, and suicidal ideation in the US, particularly among young people. In general, we are living longer, healthier lives with more freedom to do as we want, but we are not necessarily more content. And this suggests that ease of survival is not proportionately associated with mental and emotional wellness. At first, I wanted to know how life satisfaction compares among the general populations of Nepal and the US, two countries with dramatically different living conditions. But these are difficult to measure, and there was very limited applicable research, so I changed my direction to focus on the potential effects of modernization on psychosocial health. Modernization describes the process through which a traditional agriculture-based society transitions into one based on industry, the development of cities, and a separation between religion and the state. We are bearing witness to unprecedented rates of development globally. Nepal, situated between India and the Chinese-controlled Tibetan Plateau, is right at the geographical center of this anthropic boom. Nepali economists are promoting industrialization as a means of increasing the nation's wealth and power. As was seen in the US and Europe following the Industrial Revolution, economic modernization could lead to a wealthier middle class, longer life expectancy, improved systems of healthcare and education, and increased access to basic necessities as well as modern luxuries in Nepal. However, it is important to note that such drastic changes in a people's way of life are not without any consequence. Industrialization leads to the division of labor on a large scale and to the disintegration of pre-established roles. So a person growing up in an industrializing society has more freedom to choose a career outside of agriculture and to become more self-reliant. But this newfound freedom and autonomy can be suffocating. The responsibility to direct the course of one's own life can become an immense burden to a person that recognizes the extent of their options and the magnitude of their choices. It is possible that much of the stress, anxiety, and despair that a person experiences in a day or a lifetime could be traced back not to their lack of freedom, but to the scale of it. Secularism, another important characteristic of modernity, is the principle that religion be kept separate from socio-political affairs, but it also refers to the lessening importance of spirituality and religion in daily life. Multiple studies have revealed a pattern of lower levels of religiosity in wealthier, more highly developed countries. Another survey involving 26 countries found that individuals who actively participate in a religious group are happier on average than inactive religious participants and non-religious individuals. There are several possible explanations for this finding. Religion and tradition offer answers to the difficult hows and whys of existence that cannot be answered by science, and they can thereby give meaning to a person's life and choices. According to psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, Loss of meaning can lead to hopelessness, loss of interest, decreased energy and motivation, and feelings of emptiness, which are all symptoms strongly associated with major depression. Non-religious individuals are freer to live as they see fit and without guilt for certain choices that might be frowned upon by certain religions, but they must attempt to create their own meaning, purpose, and motivations in order to continue performing the daily activities of living. Religious faith can also provide a person with like-minded community and with hope and comfort during times of stress, which may improve one's ability to cope. And the pursuit of happiness is a fundamental aspect of the quote-unquote American dream, but this very pursuit of happiness may be what makes happiness so unattainable. The capitalistic market system that tends to arise alongside industrialization is built off of competition. The unit of production in an agrarian or agriculture-based society is the collaborative efforts among a village or a large extended family, but the unit of production in an industrialized setting is the individual. As a result, social comparison gains importance. This means that the way we feel about ourselves is heavily influenced by how we believe that we compare to others. For example, when our happiness is based on relativism, no amount of wealth will make us feel content because we will always be exposed to greater wealth, and our concept of what wealth is will shift accordingly. This works the same way with how we feel about physical appearance, relationships, and academic and job performance. If we are always chasing happiness, then we cannot be happy. For me, the trip to Nepal was a sobering reset of my frame of reference. By global standards, I am from a superfluously wealthy background, but because this superfluous wealth is part of my life, and because I am constantly exposed to people with even greater wealth, it is easy for me to feel frustrated by what I don't have. However, the majority of individuals around the globe are living off of far less wealth and have far less opportunity to direct the course of their own lives, yet they make do with what they have in the same way that I do. I was reminded that so much of what we deem important is only important because of the importance that we attach to such things. I am able to take greater control of my overall happiness and contentment by recognizing that beyond access to the resources necessary for my survival, my life satisfaction is not dependent upon the external circumstances over which I have no control. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Strunk. I'm a senior fine arts major, and for my research topic, I chose to research Nepali hip-hop culture, which is known there as Nep-hop. On our very first day in Kathmandu, we went to the Vidro Art Lab Gallery and Cafe, and the artist and owner has curated a space inspired by hip-hop culture. And looking around, I was really excited to see what other evidence I could see of the pillars of hip-hop in Nepal. These are some of the mural art around the cafe area, obviously inspired by graffiti. These are from the art gallery space, and these fine artists referenced in their artist statements the pillars of hip-hop. So I was excited to find out what more evidence I could find. I knew that we were going to a secondary school after this, and was excited to ask the school children about what they knew about hip-hop in Nepal. So the pillars of hip-hop, a lot of people think that hip-hop is synonymous with rap. Rapping is just one of the pillars of hip-hop. There are several. The original 4 pillars of hip-hop were rapping or emceeing, DJing, graffiti, and breakdancing. It's since been expanded to include the pillars of knowledge, street knowledge or consciousness of self, street fashion, street language, and street entrepreneurialism. So the kids in Bandipur were able to tell me about several of their favorite Nepali rappers. The one on the far right, Girish Katuata, is known as the godfather of Nep-hop. He's credited with bringing hip-hop to Nepal in the early 90s when he mixed American hip-hop beats with traditional Nepali music. Yama Buddha, all the school children told me was their favorite rapper. He's known as the king of Nep-hop and Nepal's best rapper. And then Balin is the mayor of Kathmandu. Kathmandu is a huge metropolis, and political analysts had written him off as a contender for the win for the mayorship of Kathmandu. And they say that his political music reached the youth of Nepal who campaigned for him at their family dinner tables to their parents. So we closed out the trip back at the Vidro Art Lab Cafe. Here's some more of their mural art. This is some of their tables. It's an aerial shot of their eating tables with stencil art on there. Some more for them from their gallery space, obviously inspired by graffiti. This is some graffiti that we saw out in the streets of Nepal. There was graffiti in every city that we visited. There's a lot of wheat pasting here and stencil graffiti. These are a little blurry because I had to take them from the bus. And it was different. I thought that these line drawings were cool. The one on the left that almost looks like a Buddha's face I saw all over Kathmandu. I thought that that was really interesting that that artist was using that face as like his tag. Usually you use like a clever alias and you write your name, but he was using the face as his breadcrumbs that he left around the city. And then these are the children in Bandipur who told me about their favorite rappers, and without asking, they told me about their favorite hip-hop dance crew. And they have a YouTube channel, and they told me about their favorite B-girl from that dance crew. A B-girl is the word B-boy, and B-girl is a break dancer or a hip-hop dancer. This is a DJ and a rapper that I met at the Vidro Art Lab Cafe and Gallery, and made friends with them. And they invited us to a show later that night, which we went to. And a bunch of rappers were there, freestyling, switching back and forth between English and Nepali. You can see the guy wearing a FUBU shirt, which is an American hip-hop street fashion brand that was popular in the early 90s. And I made friends with some of them, and we've kept in touch. And the DJ there put me in touch with another Nepali rapper. They helped me translate a few songs, and we had a really good time. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Hannah Tucker. I'm a junior marketing here, and I decided to write on traditional medicine of Nepal. So in May, I went all the way to the other side of the world in the hopes to discover this completely different form of living and to experience tradition and be immersed in a deep culture that I never felt before. When the study abroad trip popped up in my school email, I was feeling really restless after COVID and looking for an adventure. I told a friend that I didn't think I could muster up the funds for such a trip and was suggested that I start a GoFundMe. It took some convincing for me to think anyone would offer up money for me to what felt like selfishly travel, but I built the GoFundMe and posted it fearing for the turnout. But something happened that surprised me, and outpouring of funds appeared like a dream. So many people wanted me to adventure and go experience this new world. It was truly beautiful. One core focus I wanted out of this trip was to cultivate my knowledge around traditional medicine. My interest in this topic stems from acupuncture and the varying traditional medicines that come from the East, which revolve around the more natural ways of healing the body and mind. Where most Westerners have relied on prescriptions to heal various issues, there are many cultures, including that of Nepal, which have relied on plants, Ayurveda, and the embodiment of the spirit for healing practices. When you think of Nepal, you may envision lots of spiritual places, perhaps some monkeys, and people packed on the streets riding around on mopeds. One key element everywhere we went was the incredible importance of Hindu and Buddhist cultures, and directly tied with the people's devotion are their correlations with Ayurvedic and plant medicines. There is truly a boundless link in Nepal between plant matter and its alignments with religion. It is strongly believed that the existence of their deities reside throughout the universe as supernatural powers. Because it is believed the Buddha sat beneath a Bodhi tree when he found enlightenment, Nepalese Buddhists and Hindi alike protect the tree and hold it in high majesty. It benefits many ailments and is used for disorders of the skin, dysentery, diabetes, and inflammation. The fruits of the tree, rich with amino acids, have been found to increase the healing of wounds. While we explored this country, we saw statues on school premises and in spiritual places wielding the holy basil plant, commonly referred to as tulsi. Along with its symbolism of prosperity, the holy basil and each of its parts are used for curing a plethora of ailments such as bronchitis, malaria, diarrhea, skin and eye disease, arthritis, and insect bites. It is rich in vitamins A, C, K, and calcium, magnesium, potassium, fiber, and iron. While my traveling group walked through Bandipur, I spotted a baby chicken that had escaped its fenced coop and was tirelessly trying to get back to its mother. The border of the fence was lined with plants, which I thoughtlessly dove into to assist the distressed bird. And before long, another student was in the bushes with me, and we very quickly started feeling burning sensations on our arms and legs. As quickly as we felt the burn, whelps began forming. It's really scary. Our guide told us that we had gotten into stinging nettles planted along the perimeter of the fence, and although the plant has a dangerous outer gum, as we experienced, it has been used for centuries for internal benefits like detoxifying the kidneys, treating coughs, and alleviating anemia. The plant is rich in vitamin C, iron, and over 20 amino acids, and makes for a fierce coop protector. During the trip, our dedicated tour guide, Prashant, took me through the winding city streets to a pharmacy about the size of a New York newspaper stand, completely open like many of the other shops in the cities. Knowing my interest in local medicines, Prashant asked for me to speak with the doctor. The pharmacist at the front disappeared and moments later opened a side door before beckoning me inside. He led me through this narrow hallway before directing me into a small room where a doctor sat. We spoke on shamanic medicine, hot versus cold properties of foods, the integration of Western approaches for more serious ailments, and lastly, how adaptable the Nepali people are. In most of the rural regions, they rely almost entirely on their community and local plants to heal from things we take for granted here because of our ease of access. Medicinal herbs and traditional medicine are considered a lifeline for the Nepali people and have thrived through ethnic traditions and beliefs in this transcultural environment. Just like all of these people who helped me get to Nepal, the warmth and outpouring of love that I felt on my journey to get here, I felt during my trip. The people were wholehearted and helped us learn so much about many aspects of their traditions and culture. I highly recommend anyone here to take the opportunity to travel. It is a short life, and these chances are worth the risk. Namaste.
Hi, my name is Allison McLemore, and I am a senior fine arts major. But my presentation is over the statistics of women in Nepal. So to start off, I'll be giving a brief history of the women's movement in Nepal. So Yogamaya Nepunene, she is the woman that is pictured in orange. She was considered the first female revolutionary as she led the rebellion in the 20th century against the Rana regime. She wrote poems against the regime, patriarchy, and the caste system, meaning that she wanted to put an end to the corruption, caste, and gender discrimination. She, like any other woman in history who fought for the same ideals, in which was fighting for the rights of women and for the freedom for people to be who they are. There, of course, were other activists as well, but Yogamaya was considered the first. And along with this, Nepal gained the right of universal suffrage for women in 1947. Next is the Global Gender Gap Index. As you can see, each country is labeled with a color depicting where they are within the index. This measures the size of the gap in each country between women and men in terms of various aspects of health outcomes, educational participation, economic participation, and opportunity, and political empowerment. The highest ranked countries have closed more than 80% of their overall gender gap, and Nepal, which is pointed out by the arrow, is found within the 91 through 125 range. And as you can see, the USA is between the 21 and 55 range. Next, I'll be talking about the domestic violence by country. This is the percentage of women who have experienced intimate partner physical violence at least once in their lifetime. Once again, each country is labeled by a color to represent where they are within the scale. Nepal is at 23%, which is roughly 1 in 5 women, or 5 out of 20. Here are a few more statistics. On the left, you can see that this indicates the countries where women and girls do not have the same inheritance rights as men and boys. This means that even though a girl may be the firstborn of the family, that doesn't mean that she's going to inherit, get any of the inheritance first. It's going to go to the son first. However, on the chart to the right, this is the percentage of married women aged 15 to 49 who say that they participate in decisions on major household purchases, either making a decision by themselves or jointly with their husband. Nepal is at 53%, and it's pointed out by an arrow as well. So this is Supreme Court Justice Sapana Pradhan Mala. Before becoming a Supreme Court Justice, she was a lawyer, and during this time, she pioneered for women's rights in Nepal and continues to do so today. She advocates for equal inheritance, reproductive rights, and women participation in politics. She has been a politician as a member of Nepal Constituent Assembly or Parliament from the Communist Party of Nepal, where she fought not only for equal rights for women, but for inclusive language in the country's new constitution. She is well known for pushing to pass a marital rape law and for drafting the Gender Equality Amendment Act, as well as Model Human Trafficking Act. But these achievements have not been easy as the country continues to rebuild itself after a long civil war. Despite these seemingly negative statistics that presented, Nepal is still developing, and they will continue to create more opportunities for women and continue to make things safer for them. Finally, this is a brief recap of my experience. Traveling to Nepal has definitely opened my eyes to more opportunities and to how other people live. When traveling to another country, you never know what to expect, and I definitely did not expect to create the relationships that I have with some of the children in Bandipur. Some of them spoke a decent amount of English, but also spoke their native language, Nepali. At one point, they were trying to teach me words and practice talking to the other children, and which was quite embarrassing. It's very hard to pronounce some words. and whenever I pronounce the words wrong, but it was great to learn how to properly pronounce some words and try to break down some of the barriers that were between us. But overall, I enjoyed learning from them. With this, I say if you ever have the opportunity to take a study abroad trip, go for it. You may be going to a way different country, but it's a great experience overall, and it opens your eyes.
My name is Keelan Barkley. I'm senior here at GSW. My major is long-term care management. First of all, my slides, they really don't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. So, because I mean, it's so much. I mean, I had so much fun. And I told my family this is the best summer I've ever had. But anyway, so like I talked about health care as far as the elderly is or whatever. So let me give you guys a couple of interesting facts. Okay, so most of the Napoleon, okay, all right, okay, so one of the things that I noticed over there that a lot of the Napoleon families, they take the elderly, like the older people, they take him, like, they really take care of them. And like here in the US, we do that too, but my opinion is we have like an escape route. Just working with the elderly, we have like nursing homes and different things like that. Well, over there, the families house the older people more. So here in America, the age for seniors to be considered a senior is 65. Like over there is 60. So the average lifespan, which, you know, over there they eat a little bit better than we eat here, but they're saying the lifespan is 71 years old. I think it may be a little bit more than that. But so there's nearly 2.5 million people in Nepal that are 60 years old. As far as they do have nursing homes and different ones like that, but not as many as the U.S. That's what I meant when I said I think the U.S. have an escape route. So once their parents or something gets older, they just kind of push them to the nursing home, and there's nothing wrong with that. But me personally, I think that we should, you know, kind of do like they do as far as keeping them at home. Okay, let me go to some of my slides. Okay, so I thought this was pretty cool. They had the college and the high school just kind of similar, like together. I thought that was pretty cool. So we partnered with them over there, and I mean the welcome that they had was, I mean it was pretty awesome. Okay, this was some of the some of the students that were there or whatnot. And I mean, like I say, it kind of had me feeling like a celebrity over there. They wanted to take pictures with us and different things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, but going over there, we stayed at different hotels. Some of them were kind of vintage, but they were cool. This was a picture of one of the hotels from the balcony. And I think this was like the market. Matter of fact, Keaton took that picture there. It caught me off guard. I thought this was a beautiful view right here, like the mountains and different stuff like that. Okay, this was when I knew that we were really in Nepal, because they had that, you know, the birthplace of Buddha. I thought that was pretty cool. This was in one of the temples that we were in. Okay. I mean, just fellowshipping and with different ones and seeing different, cultures. I thought that was pretty cool. Like I say, it's so much that I could talk about, but I mean, I just kind of minimized it. This was pretty cool too. This was in the morning. I think the sunrise, right? Yeah, that was the sunrise. So I thought that was pretty good or whatever. And that was the city. That was actually the picture over there. That was from our hotel room, from the balcony. So. And this was awesome too. The thing that I like about, that's what I think we as Americans, we take for granted, the work ethic. I think like we're kind of spoiled. I mean, this guy right here was working out there with flip-flops on. I mean, that's some dedication there. And like we went over there and those big bricks right there, we kind of helped bring them over here. You can see me, I'm exhausted. But I mean, he was working nonstop. So, yeah. Okay, this was pretty cool. We were actually on the elephant. That's a picture of a real rhino. I've never seen one in real life, but I got a chance to see it. And it was...
That's awesome. You get to see a wild rhino and you get to see a rhino in the wild.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. And it was kind of funny because this grass, when we went up on him, we thought he was asleep, or I think he was it he asleep? I think he was asleep. So we went up on him and the guy was like, back up, because they'll charge you. So I thought that was pretty cool. And this was at the school. They were dancing or whatever. You see Dr. Gamir and Keaton, just having a good time. So I mean.
Hello, hello. This is the last presentation of the day. I hope you guys are all excited. So, obviously, as you can see, this is what I'll be talking about. It's the kind of collective identity of Nepal and how it's the grappling with moderation and tradition and how that plays into everyday life and how that informs people, so on and so forth. So let's get to it. Alrighty, so yeah, what am I talking about? Well, Nepal is obviously, as you've heard from the previous presentations, is a small country in East Asia, and it's sitting in between a few different countries. It is a landlocked country. Wow, I feel like I'm going a little bit too fast here. So Nepal, as kind of a brief history, was never colonized or conquered by Western countries such as France, the British Empire, and so on and so forth. So they were able to build up their culture to kind of keep to themselves, preserve their traditions and all that. So let's see. Here is one of the art spaces that we went to. It's actually one of the first that we went. This is where I first found what I wanted to talk about, because as we came in to Nepal, I was kind of dumbfounded that there was so much westernization that I was seeing in Kathmandu. All the buildings, the signage, everything was in English. The people spoke English very well. I was very surprised by that because I thought I was not going to be able to talk to anyone because I don't know a word. I'm so sorry. We had a little language class before we went, and I did not study at all. But anyway, yeah, one of the art spaces here. When we talked to the owner of that art space, he talked about how it was kind of his mission to preserve art, culture, basically tradition itself for the Nepali people, and how he felt that it was slipping away as they got more and more modernized. Now, let's see. Yes, I already talked about that. That's kind of out of order. But the department that takes charge of preservation of Nepal and basically anything that has to do with the culture is the tourism department, which is run by the Nepal Tourism Board, as you can see there. They help protect national parks, cultural heritage sites, and so on and so forth. In terms of policy, that's what they do. So as I wanted to go on briefly, is that Nepal, while they have a very difficult struggle with preserving their traditions as they move into modernization and industrialization, a country that they can look towards as a inspiration is Japan. Japan briefly, while they were being attempted to be colonized by some Western countries, made it their mission to industrialize at a supremely fast rate in about 50 years, which is practically unheard of. They, as such, modernized but kept central their tradition and their culture, their collective identity. As such, as a kind of consequence now, they're experiencing a major population decline because they won't really let anyone migrate and all that. So, to wrap it all up, to an overall experience, I had a very pleasant time. I really loved walking around, exploring this whole new society that I have basically never, most of us had never seen before. And I have traveled somewhat extensively before then to different countries, but never a place like Nepal. So my message would be that just try it, just experience something new, whatever that may be, to get on a plane and go somewhere or to drive to some other place. I mean, it's really worth it. You won't regret it. You may not like the trip overall, but you would at least learn something, and I think that would be very, very important to, well, everything. That's all. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you to the presenters. So the next one is do you have any questions to our presenters? Any questions? Can someone answer that one?
We loved it. Who was talking about Momo? Jamal was talking about Momo. There was a dumpling that you could get steamed or fried with chicken or vegetarian, and we ate it almost every day. And if you're not feeling adventurous, they always had fried rice and, you know.
Like there was a lot of Western options everywhere we went to.
Yeah.
Almost everywhere had chicken tenders, but it had like a little spice to it. It was good.
We had chicken masala, we had cocktails, we had paneer. It was all really good.
Any other questions? And then I'll hand over to
I saw
Judy.
a hand go up over there.
It was about the cultural dance for marriage. Like, what happens if one got rejected? They were in the house, who danced with, what does that be like?
She will ask for a door. Normally she would ask for the one like, you know, that she is sure about.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. Before we adjourn, we have announced recently our upcoming study abroad trip for 2023. And next semester, so spring of 2023, we will be leading, or we have 2 faculty members here. I'll introduce them. Going to to Peru. So they will be going to Peru during spring break. So I believe the dates are March 19th to March 18th. Or March 9th, I'm sorry, to March 18th. I'm just going to botch it all up. I should just handed it over a minute ago. But Dr. Yordanova from chemistry and Dr. Metter from exercise science, they're here. They're just going to tell you briefly about what the trip entails. And if you are interested, we have a sign-up sheet here. It's just an information sheet where you can put your name down if you're interested in this upcoming study abroad trip. So thank you again.
Hello, everybody. Another hour for the Peru presentation now. I've led 3 other trips to Peru already, but this time I'm gonna try with Dr. Mather. And what do you need to know really quick? It will be a 3-credit-hour class, University 4000, that the students that went to Nepal had to take. We're gonna stay in Peru. I'm talking about Nepal. We're gonna stay in Peru for 9 days, and the idea is to visit the capital, go to a small town called La Florida, where we will help build houses for less fortunate people. And the main attraction of the trip, of course, we will see local interesting places such as Inca ruins, amazing whitewater rafting. If you like whitewater rafting, if you don't, you will like it after that, I promise. Where else? Bird Islands, and the main attraction of the trip will be Lake Titicaca. It is the highest altitude lake in the world, so hopefully it will be interesting to visit, although we have to prepare physically for the altitude change compared to America's Georgia.
Yeah, because it's up in the Andes.
Yes, that's...
You gotta get used to being in the mountains.
That's correct. Really high in the mountains, though, by the way. And the trip is, I would say, I would not consider it very expensive. The students' part for the trip will be $1,700, which includes the round-trip ticket. The ticket, which I already reserved, by the way, is $1,100. So actually, the trip is not that expensive itself, because you can get a lot of help from the university financially if you apply for the different scholarships and other financial help that we will talk about it if you're interested in the trip. If Dr. Mather wants to say something.
The deadline to apply is October 25th?
21st, October 20th. Yeah, we have limited space, 12 students and 2 of us as a faculty. As I said, I've been already there 3 times, so we kind of know the drill. I like how he mentioned about the vintage hotels. We're going to get a lot of those vintage hotels. So we're not going to sleep in a five-star hotels or anything, but I promise the experience will be awesome. Any questions if you want to ask any? I have few of the flyers that have been sent already to students, and they've been distributed around the campus. So if anybody wants to take one right now, feel free, or if you want to talk to us for more details. Thank you.